We're back again, and I'm going to show you guys how I like to restore a controller, and in this case a Super Nintendo controller. In my last video I did an unboxing. I bought a used but looking very much like a new Super Nintendo off of eBay. It arrived. I gave it a bit of a shine since it got here, and as you guys can see, this came out to be an absolute beauty. If you ask me, I got real lucky on this one, I think, because it is essentially in mint condition now after getting a good clean. And then after I'd finished that, I did a cleaning and restoration of the controller that came with it, because when I tested it and everything was working fine with it, but the start button wasn't perfect with it. It took a couple of attempts to get it to work, so that was worrisome, and I decided to take it apart and clean it and do a complete restoration on it, and that's what I did. And I retested it and it's working perfect every time now. All the buttons feel like they're essentially new again, and I decided I would like to do that with the other controller that I had here already. So I'm gonna do it with you guys this time, and I'll show you how I like to do it, because it worked good on the last one. I'll show you guys how I do it with this one. There's 5 screws in the back. You just lift the back cover off. Release all my screws over here. I can see I have a center post broken here. I may have to deal with that actually. As you can see here, and that one didn't feel like it got released properly. The center post that it attaches to is broken, so what I'm probably going to do is release that and epoxy that in there. So if you guys want to watch that, I'll probably perform that repair here too while we're at this. So these buttons come out. There's just going to be 2 metal pins. Oh, well, that's why that button never felt so good either. It looks like this button is even broken, so I'll have to see what I can do there. I'm not sure that epoxy is going to be... We'll have to take a look at that. I'm wondering if I can't even 3D print something like that. So we're in for more than what we started with, so it's just turned into something different entirely. So there's 2 pins that hold these in here. There's no springs or anything in here, so thankfully nothing's going to come popping out. These 2 buttons here just come sliding out. This cord just goes through a little bit of a strain relief bend. You lift that out of the bend, and then everything should just lift straight out here. And that releases the board, which looks, look at that print. You can barely see any if I give it extra attention, and that's what it's all about. It's however is good enough for you, but if you, this is where you want to really take your time to give it that attention, because you're probably not going to do this twice. So if you get it done right the first time, you'll be much happier. So get right in. I'm going to let that half soak. Start on the second half. You guys can see again, this side here is like the outside surface when they mate together, so it's not as pronounced, but it's still there in all those seams. So this is where you want to get in there. The soap, that strain relief, and I found the same on the other one. It's these outside contours is where the grime wants to go the most. And inside this D-pad too, you really want to get in there for obvious reasons. All the controller buttons, you really want to give that a good scrub. Again, here on the D-pad, there's even a small circular ridge all around the outside, so you'd want to give that a little bit of extra attention too. I'm going to actually even go in there with a Q-tip and some IPA when I'm all done here, like I did on the last one, to get some of these places extra sterilized. But that's just me. I'm a little bit OCD with this, and I'm probably going to take it up much further than most. But I'm just showing you guys what I do. Again, the D-pad, you know you want to give that a good clean. That's where every finger that's ever held this controller has touched. So you want to scrub all that off. So you can see with the brush and some soap, that lather that you get in there, it's a satisfying feeling to know how good and clean you can get these parts after all those years of service. You can make them like new again, so when they go back together. So these membranes, I just like to give these, I'm a little gentler with these, give them some soap. I don't scrub these as vigorously because you don't want to tear these rubber membranes. They are rather delicate, but you can still get in there with the brush and give them a good clean. These are what make the contacts on the switches. I want to give that a good clean. And I just let everything soak in there too. So the buttons are a little trickier since they're so small. Sometimes I just get them all together just to get things started. Give everything in there a good scrub. And it gives a bit of like the rock tumbler effect in here. Everything is kind of getting scrubbed. Those buttons are coming clean. And then I just let them sit in there and soak. We got 2 more membranes left. So got lots of soap in my brush. Just a toothbrush works perfect for this kind of work. And the last one. Also, you'll see the kind of dirty actually. Fixing that button, and well, that post I know will be easy to repair, but that button could be something more difficult. So I'll see you guys soon, but that's it there. I'm gonna let that soak. Pretty straightforward. Just give it a good scrub. Take your time with it. Be extra diligent. The more time you put into it, the better the results are gonna be. It's that simple. Okay, we're back here with the clean parts. I'm going to try to release that standoff post that was broken so we can begin the repair for that. So I'm just going to grip the broken post on the other end. So with that post out, I do have some epoxy here that I'll mix up when I'm ready to perform the same repair with the button. I'll use this 5-minute epoxy, and I'm going to attempt that first. We do have some more cleanup here, and I know you guys are excited about that because we haven't touched the circuit board yet, and that's where it's important to get in on the contacts. You'll see there's a line that divides the 2 halves, and when you push these membranes down, you'll see there's a pad inside, and that's what closes the gap across the 2 contacts, which indicates a button press. And you can see just by only cleaning one how much debris has come off of that. So you want to get in on all of those. In this case, there's a nice defined white line in between each of the contacts. You'll see it reveal itself even clearer once all that grime comes off. So give them all a good clean, the whole board. You can use a good clean. I just use isopropyl alcohol, 99% for this. So with all that clean, I seen that even after all that scrubbing that you guys seen, that vigorous scrubbing in the sink, that even still after all of that, that inside of these button holes, there is still grime. And that's where I'm just going to go over those with these Q-tips. It's good to have all these surfaces extra clean too, because there is friction here between these surfaces and the buttons, and the cleaner everything is, the smoother everything is going to feel. If you have grime in here, you can feel that in the buttons. So getting all these surfaces extra clean is important. I'm happy with that. I'm going to go around this D-pad. And that slight lip that's there, what I was talking about. And you guys know how much I love that squeaky clean sound. That's how you know it's clean. Okay, so there. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with the board. I'm going to attempt those repairs now. I mix this epoxy. I usually just do it on a piece of paper, and I can just fold up, throw away in the garbage when I'm done. And I just, you can see that equal parts of each side come out when you do that. You don't need much, especially for a repair this size. I'm going to give it a good mix. I use a toothpick usually when I'm doing this work. Just something fine. So now you want to try to find that spot where it belongs. So there, where you think you have it. What I'm going to do in this case is I'm just going to dip this. Try to get that surface. Try to come in there and try to place it. I'm just going to hold it. Okay. I think I'm happy with the way that one sits. And again, the same idea here. You want to just find the spot. And come in here. Just pick up some epoxy. For this one, I'm probably going to need to hold it for the entirety of the remaining time of the 5-minute setup. I will give it a little extra time to cure beyond that 5 minutes, but this should be enough for it to hold everything in place. What I'm going to do before that's done curing is just reinforce the back side of this a little bit, I think. As you can see, that repair is only as good as it's going to get with just epoxy alone, so we're going to give that some time to cure. I'm back here with an attempt to 3D print the shoulder buttons. The epoxy might work yet still, but I also wanted to see what this option would turn out like, and I printed this with PETG, and I had to use supports because the shape, as you can see, is not ideal for 3D printing, so I have no idea how this is going to turn out, but we do have 2 new shoulder buttons printed here, so let me go ahead and get that support taken off of this and see what we got here and if these will be functional. Okay, I've gone through a couple redesigns because the original design didn't work in the case of using it with an OEM original controller. All the credit to Michael B. Doherty for his original designs on these 3D prints. He built an entire controller, all the individual parts, and I was able to use his design for the button, which was near exact to the OEM, and make a couple of refinements that I could match to the left button that I had in my original controller. And after a couple redesigns here, I think that this one here, or the other one that I have right now that's actually working perfectly, but I wanted to print it in this orientation without all the rafts and supports that the other one used. Kind of gives a couple rough edges, and I'm not sure how this one will turn out yet either. We're about to both look at it here. But the original design had the plastic pin, and that was the most important redesign that I needed to do. As you can see, I hollowed out to be able to use the factory steel pin that comes in the controller, and that was what enabled that smooth mechanical lever operation of the button to work, and where the plastic pin that was used in the original design for the original controller didn't allow that to be very smooth, so the button wouldn't spring back. But the fit was very good. I had to refine a couple of edges, and one side is notched differently than the other on the OEM, so I made that change too. and I'll hopefully attach or share my design of this, because this overall final design I think here is near perfect, and you'll see when I show it side by side with the original one. It's almost a mirror image. Didn't get quite perfect color match, but it's going to have to be close enough for now, and hopefully it'll turn out good, because I think it's going to at least work for now. Okay, we're back with all of our 3D printed parts, and of all the ones that I've printed, I think this is going to be the one that I go with. It's a bit funny printing these ones. This one I had to print in like an orientation where it was laying down like this, and it gives one rough edge, but the other edges, and most importantly the surface, is all nice and clean and looks like a finished product. The hinge, the interior, everything else turned out really good on this print. The last print I did was with the button surface down, and I knew that it was going to get textured, and I knew that it was going to transition there too, so I wasn't sure how that was going to turn out. The print overall is good and would be functional, but I think I like the surface finish of this one quite a bit more. And as you can see, I had to make some modifications to this. In the original design, it used a 3D plastic pin that went through. This side's cut off, but it traveled through. Well, it was one piece, but and it had these notches here, and it was missing a notch that the OEM ones have. I'll show you here. See, the original one has a notch on this side here that this side doesn't, so it's not quite a mirror image on both sides like the ones that were designed here, which were great. Doherty, who designed these original ones, and he designed each and all the parts of the SNES controller to be able to assemble a full and complete one. But I needed to make a couple of modifications to make it fit into the OEM, so I made it so that the pin could travel through and use the original pin through the hole, and I had that notch made, which is a pretty close to mirror image of the original. And the shape and size, and as you can see, this one here, it's quite a bit bigger on the end, so I shortened up and trimmed off these edge pieces here that this one utilized, and rounded off the corners and made it basically as close as I could get it to the original, which came out really close if you ask me. And we're gonna get it all put back together, and we're gonna see how it looks and feels. But overall, the hinges, the overall shape, the interior, even with the portion that will depress the membrane button, all that's there. So all the credit to him and his design. I'll see if I can find a way to share mine. I haven't done that before. I only just learned how to, I'm still new to 3D printing, and I only just recently learned how to make some of my own basic designs, and this is actually the first time I've ever modified an existing design, so it turned out pretty good. I got lots to learn about printing. I'm sure the way I printed this and built supports and wraps and all the stuff that I don't quite understand how to use fully yet. This could have been done better, but for now it should be functional, and we're going to get this all put back together. We're going to see here the epoxy. I actually added a little extra epoxy, you might be able to see in there, just to strengthen that repair. It shouldn't interfere with any of the assembly. There's lots of room there for it, so I figured I would strengthen it up just a little bit so that should be a lasting repair. And the board's been cleaned. I did some extra cleaning off camera. I know that's probably disappointing for some of you to hear because it's so enjoyable to watch the cleaning, but I did take a Q-tip and go around the D-pad and all these buttons, the surfaces that make contact. Most importantly, I wanted to highlight to get a cloth, a paper towel, some alcohol, and clean all around these bends here as the cord enters and exits the controller. It's the only time you'll ever be able to get that clean again, so take the time to get that clean. And now it's time to put it back together. So it's a bit of a puzzle going back together. We got all the buttons here that only fit in there one way. So it's a kind of a, you get lucky there. And there again. Okay, well, It doesn't always go together that easy, but put your D-pad in, you're starting your select. These membrane buttons, they'll have little holes through them that'll line up inside of here. You want to line those up. Did you see? Same with on this side, lines up with just the one hole right there. And then you want to put these little buttons in for the shoulders. And the left one goes here, going first. It's the left, I put it on the right side, picking up the back of the controller. This was the one that I want to go with to keep. Pin in. There, looks like that post, everything is looking good and lined up nice and straight. All of our buttons are in place here, everything looks good. I want to route that cable, it has its memory, its long memory of that position. Take the back, 5 more screws. Well, you can give everything a bit of a test here too. Make sure everything looks and feels right. It feels good. Okay, that last one went in there nice and tight. Everything looks and functions great. All these buttons feel as good as new. And as you can see, that shoulder button works good. You can hear it click. It's got a nice click, it's got a nice travel. That button there will last another lifetime for this controller. This was an old broken down controller and it's still old and it's still a little broken down, but that's fully functional. This will get you out of a jam. Any tow truck driver could use one. So there you go. It's all clean, restored, functional, fixed. We fixed that post and 3D printed a new replacement button for the shoulder. Works good as new. I'll test this. I'm quite certain everything should function. It'll only be able to dream of being the Player 2 remote one day, but even that is probably a long shot. Even Player 2 is probably going to be a wireless 8-bit DOE controller around here now. But like I said, it could get you out of a jam. So that's how you can fix just about any kind of controller. The same principles apply to nearly all controllers. When you take them apart, you just want to clean them, and sometimes in this case you might find something that needs a repair, and that's how you keep them alive. So that's the kind of stuff I do around here. I take things apart, I like to fix things and restore them, keep them alive, and enjoy them for even longer than they may have been before. So if you like this kind of stuff, stick around, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye.